right. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce Ed Kohl. He's the showman of the evening. Ed and I go way back. In fact, I worked with him for one time as another too. He knows his stuff. He's going to give you a great education, and I know you're going to enjoy the product. Any questions or concerns, please ask, because this is also an education as well. With that, Ed, all yours, buddy.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. So, welcome everybody. My first time up here. Thanks for the invitation.
Yes, sir.
And Paul, I'll let you finish up. Okay? Get everybody. So, we're going to be tasting tonight a brand called J.W. Kelly. And J.W. Kelly is he actually was a guy who was born in Ireland back in the early 1800s. He was born in Waterford, Ireland. Moved over here to the U.S., wound up at 18 years old in New York, and then in 1863 moved to Nashville. What he did there was to become a rectifier. Now, a rectifier is not a distiller. It's a person that buys base alcohol, blends it, puts it together, puts it under a label, and then sells it. That's a rectifier. So he did this from 1863 until 1866 when he moved down here to Chattanooga, where he opened up the first distillery after the Civil War. Right down there, right across from the Choo Choo, right down there on Main Street. Opened up the distillery. It was called J.W. Kelly Deep Springs Distillery. That all started distillation in the Chattanooga area right after the war. And from then on, a lot of other guys came in and started distilling bourbon, all kinds of different things. Well, J.W. Kelly was not only a distiller, he was also a tobacconist. So he was importing and bringing in tobacco. He was the first guy that started to import and bring into Chattanooga Budweiser, Schlitz, Pabst Blue Ribbon, a bunch of brands, yeah. If you read these pieces of information I gave you, he owned the restaurant in the Reed House. And quite recently, I don't know if anybody's familiar with this, but the Reed House is celebrating their 150-year anniversary as the longest running hotel in the Southeast. J.W. Kelly was part of that. So they came to us and asked us if we would do a special bottling to celebrate the Reed House. And we did that. The management came in, they picked out a couple of barrels. We bottled it up for them under the Reed House label, and they now are serving that down at the restaurant.
And it's good stuff too.
It's tasty. Anyway, so tonight we're going to taste through a bunch of things. I'm going to take you through 3 bourbons, and then I'm going to take you through 3 ryes. So we got a lot of work to do. Everybody up for it?
Yes, sir.
My kind of people. All right. Okay, everybody have the first pour. This is the base bourbon. It's called Old Milford. And Old Milford was really the brand that J.W. Kelly really kind of hung his hat on. This was his go-to high volume brand. How many here for the first time in a tasting? First timers? Okay. Yeah, the reason I asked that question.
Yeah. I taste every day.
It's the first time today.
The reason I asked that question is because there is a technique, and that's why I like to use these glasses. What I'd like you to do is roll it in the glass, and what I'm looking for here is viscosity. That's going to be determined by either the sheeting or the teardrops that happen on the side of the glass. Now, if you see this is kind of sheeting up on the glass pretty heavy. That's going to indicate a distillation technique, and that'll give you the shape and size of your still. The larger the stills, the more teardrops you're going to get. The smaller your stills, more sheeting. And the reason for that is, chemically, the smaller stills produce a heavier, creamier, more viscous style distillate. So that's the first thing you look for. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to nose it. Now, if you have to be a little careful with this one, because if you roll it around and stick your nose down there, it probably is the last one you're going to nose. That's all alcohol down there. What you want to do is roll it in the glass and let the nose come to you. Right there. There it is. Nice and sweet, right? To taste, the best way to do it is take a little bit, put it at the tip of the tongue, spread it throughout your palate, get the flavor. Go ahead and do that.
Yeah, it's very good.
Roll it around, get the different flavors. And what we're looking for here, you get 3 impressions. Right at the beginning of the palate, that's where the alcohol is, right?
Yep.
As you move to mid-palate, now you're going to start to pick up the cereal, sweetness, spiciness, all these different flavors. White pepper, I'm getting white pepper. Then on the end of the palate, 3rd impression, what's the lingering effect? Something that you liked? Did it just go away? Did it hang there? And that's basically how we look at these bourbons, all right, as we go through the tasting. So there is one other process, and I didn't see any water around. We do add just a couple of drops of water. And the reason for that is, once the distillation is done, and we go through the bottling process, there are natural oils, what we refer to as esters. These esters, there's thousands of them that create all these different flavors. The problem that you have is when you do the bottling, the esters tend to get closed and tight and shut down. So what you want to do is add a couple of drops of water. Yeah, if we can maybe pass those around a little bit. All you have to do is take a little bit of water out of it, put it in the cap, just a couple of drops, roll it around, and you're going to see a big difference in the bourbon. Because what you're doing is you're opening up the esters. Okay? I'll let you go ahead and do that.
Open up those esters.
Esters are a very good friend of
Yep,
mine.
that's good. That's good.
What's the proof on this bourbon?
Yeah, just like that much.
Mr. Ed, we have a question.
Mix it up.
We have a question in the back.
What's the proof on the bourbon, on this bourbon?
This is 92.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
92.
That is.
This,
one thing-
this will be the lowest one we're going to taste.
The one thing I did learn, I've always known about putting drops of water and everything, but he recommends that with a lot of things. And one I like, but I've never thought about before, is tequila.
Oh, yeah.
But it has the same effect with tequila, so
Any,
even I learned something.
any distilled spirit's going to be benefit by a little bit of water because, again, they all have the same problem. They've got all these flavors and these esters, but the bottling process shuts those esters down. So a couple of drops of water just pops them back open again.